we heard today the first time. This guy is thinking about Steph's status with the best point guards of all time. So, Acho, get us started with your top 5.
Boy, I love me some Steph Curry, but that was still an outlandish take.
Yeah.
However, at number 5,
he said it.
John Stockton.
Okay.
I got number 5 at John Stockton. Now, what you're going to see is an asterisk of Oscar Robertson. I will explain
That's
that
6
later.
Honorable
John
mention.
Stockton is my number 5. Why? Because I'm an old school cat when it comes to my point guard sale. You remember when we started to try to change what point guard meant? We started to alter point guard to just meaning the guy who had the ball in his hands most. No, for me, point guards were guys like Stockton, a 9 times assist champ.
Yes.
The greatest passer in the history of the game, if you want to talk about overall assists, because he truly was making sure people like the mailman could deliver. John Stockton making everyone around him better at 5.
I get that.
At 4, Steve Nash.
Okay.
Stockton won no chips. Nash won no chips. But Steve Nash, a back-to-back MVP. Before back-to-back MVPs were cool, right? LeBron ends up doing it. Giannis ends up doing it. So many people end up doing it.
Yeah.
But Steve Nash, a back-to-back MVP, just an all-around dude. He really revolutionized the game when he went to Phoenix. I love Nasty Nash. He played for my Dallas Mavericks. But when he went to Phoenix and he changed that up-tempo style of ball with his head coach, I love Steve Nash. That's why I got him.
No asterisk watching that.
No. At number 3, Isaiah Thomas.
Now we're cooking with grease.
Isaiah Thomas, two-time champ. He really needs no explanation of his accolades. But more importantly, two-time champ, finals MVP. Not only could he pass it, not only could he score it, he also could play defense and also was one of the heart and soul when you want to talk about the bad boys Pistons.
Yes.
And number 2.
You're going to mess up.
Steph Curry.
Oh, there you go. There you go.
Steph Curry is who he is. 4-time champ, finals MVP, all-around beast, all-around dude, makes everyone around him better.
Okay.
Steph Curry is one of the greatest point guards to ever play the game. But the reason he's not the greatest point guard to ever play the game.
He was just solidified yesterday, according to Iggy. Oh, I'm sorry.
The Magic Johnson.
Come on. It's Ivy.
Urban Magic Johnson. 5 chips, 9 years, 3-time finals MVP, 10 times for All-NBA.
It's showtime.
It's Magic Johnson.
It's showtime.
Like, Magic Johnson did everything Steph Curry did and more. And at the point in which you got to go from playing a point guard to playing a center position because your center's out and you drop 42, 15, and 7, nobody can really dethrone Magic Johnson in my mind at point guard. Where I will agree with you, there's nothing Steph Curry can do to trump Magic Johnson as the best point guard of all.
Oh, okay, so he can't be top 10 because he's never going to get out into the top 10. He solidified yesterday. Let's get it going. He had a good list. I have a good list. Let's see which list is better. Number 5, John Stockton. No asterisk. Respect to you. I don't know what that asterisk is. You're going to explain later? I don't know how much time we got. But John Stockton, everything you said, but John Stockton, good Lord, talking about how he was a floor general. No championships to show for, but who gives a damn? Your individual greatness and how you set that team up for success and contention year in, year out, got love for him. Number 4, where's his name on your list? CP3. We're going to talk. Chris Paul versus Steve Nash. That's going to be the conversation. Yeah, you better clap. I'm clapping for Chris Paul right now. Number 4 on my list. We all know who Chris Paul is. Two-way player. Don't let the size fool you. The little engine that can and that could. He plays defense, steals leader, all NBA and all defensive team right there, Chris Paul. Number 3, it's going to get a little reciprocal over here. I got my man, Isaiah Thomas. All right. Number 2, Steph Curry. All right. Number 1, Magic Johnson. All right. Now let's start arguing right now. You trying to tell me Steve Nash better than Chris Paul?
I explain the asterisk because I was trying to cover. Why ain't you ain't got Oscar Robertson either?
You better call my daddy. Whoa.
Okay.
That hurt.
Steve Nash is greater than Chris Paul because it's going to be offensive.
That statement right there.
It's going to be offensive. We'd never have to mention Chris Paul's name if we wanted to talk about the history of the NBA.
I'm listening.
Ever.
Ever?
Like, what you're going to mention Lob City? Like, we could talk about the game of basketball and never mention Chris Paul's name, and the game of basketball's history would never be missed. We literally can't do that.
Why? Just because of the MVPs?
Because he won MVP not once, but twice. But then also, when you want to talk about Kobe Bryant and what Kobe Bryant had to go through, remember the Suns were winning 60 games a couple years in a row.
Yeah.
So you can't talk about the game of basketball, James Naismith's phenomenal game of basketball. We can't talk about it without mentioning Steve Nash. But you could talk about the whole game and never mention Chris Paul.
Now, that's an interesting point because I think you would have to mention Chris Paul because he's always been a guy that helped the team improve. Now, how did they improve? Think about it. The Clippers.
That's true.
If you ever talk about the Clippers, you're going to have to mention Chris Paul. You ever talk about the Hornets, you're going to talk about Chris Paul.
Okay.
His impact to a team's organization. You talk about Phoenix right now. You're going to say, oh, Phoenix had a moment right there. They had a moment as great as Steve Nash had. They were in the finals just last year. Steve Nash has never won a championship, been to the finals. So why wouldn't we have that conversation about Chris Paul? Especially when we're talking about the individual.
Great point. And I don't even want to get distracted by making jokes and all things. If you're talking about the history of the game of basketball, you're not talking about the Clippers, and you're not talking about the Hornets. So that's the thing. You're not talking about the Suns, not at all. But you have to talk about Nash. Because if you're talking about the game of basketball, you got to talk about MVPs. Hey, so who got the most MVPs ever? Well, Magic got his. Russell, you know what I'm saying? Well, wasn't around when Russell was first. So if you really want to talk about the game of basketball, you got to talk about who won MVPs. And we're going to have to talk about Nash. And the other reason you got to talk about Nash, you got to answer, wait, when we're talking about the history of basketball, Kobe only has one MVP? How come? And you instantly have to mention.
And not in a flattering way.
Not at all.
It's not flattering. So what are we doing? Backhanded compliments to talk about Nash?
But you're mentioning him. Chris Paul, as much as we all love Chris Paul, what's he done?
But we love him for a reason. We don't just love him. We didn't wake up one day and say, we love Chris Paul.
Truly, here's the truth. The only thing you would mention in regards to Chris Paul, you would mention the blocked trade to him go to the Lakers.
That's part of it.
I would say that's the biggest impact Chris Paul has had on the game of basketball. And I'm not even being hyperbolic.
11-time All-NBA, you're not mentioning this guy?
But when you're mentioning, what did it do?
They call him the point God. I think that you're going to mention the point. You forgot about God? What are we doing
here? He fell from the heavens. Am I tripping? Yeah. Am I tripping? I genuinely, I'm not even trying to make jokes.
Top 75 player, you got to mention him there.
Dame Lillard's a top 75 player.
You ain't going to mention Dame Lillard when you talk basketball?
Not the history of the game.
You don't just talk MVPs and champions. You also talk about guys who have contributed to the game heavily.
Okay, let's do this.
Let's go.
You're talking basketball, you got to talk Magic.
Stop playing.
Great.
Stop.
You got to talk Steph. Obviously, great. Got to talk Isaiah because bad boy Pistons, right?
Of course.
And Isaiah.
2 championships.
You clearly have to talk Stockton because you got to talk Jordan. And when you talk Jordan, you got to talk Stockton.
But see, now we start. That's loose. That's loose. Oh, we talking about you because of your homie, or who you win against and you never beat. We can't. That's not what we're doing here.
Jordan, to be the greatest of all time, had to go through him. That's why I'm saying you got to talk him.
Yeah.
Nobody became the greatest because they had to defeat him. The reason Andre Iguodala won Finals MVP, to bring this full circle, he won Finals MVP because he stopped LeBron James. Because LeBron James had to go through him. Nobody's had to go through Chris Paul.
Right.
Kobe Bryant had to go through Steve Nash to win a regular season MVP, and he didn't do it. All of these people actually impacted the legacy of the game of basketball. Either our greatest ever had to go through them, or they kept our greatest ever from winning something along those lines. Chris Paul's never kept anybody from anything, and nobody's ever had to go through him.
But if the only reason we mention Nash is in an unflattering way, or we question one, if not both of his MVPs.
I'll take that.
Chris Paul,
I'll take that.
Maybe you want to stay out of that conversation for just a second.